A story is a game of emotions. It may deliver an idea or discuss complicated problems, but what makes it different from, say, a documentary is its methods of doing so. At its core, the engine that drives us forward is our emotions. Emotions that a good storyteller knows how to evoke and manipulate in order to tell the story they want to tell. A good mystery usually evokes mainly curiosity, and the payoff usually shock. A good horror makes us scared, then terrorized, and the payoff is when we triumph over that great fear. A good erotica makes you. The point is, good writers know how to make you want something first, promise, before giving it to you. Payoff. Now why am I talking about this? Because our topic of the day, plot twist, can only be as good as the emotion the movie managed to evoke before the actual twist unfolds. If you're like me, you love plot twists, and it took me a while to figure out why I love watching them so much, and the reason they're so satisfying to watch is the same reason why most good stories have a moment of defeat before their moment of victory. Why writers are advised to get the character into his lowest point before making him triumph in his highest. Same reason why roller coasters go boringly slow before going insanely fast. The sudden and quick shift in our feelings as an audience. For some reason, our minds have decided that going from sad to okay doesn't feel half as good or as satisfying as from depressed to ecstatic. To me, this emotional shift is the most important factor when it comes down to making a plot twist satisfying. It's not the only one, many more things go into making it good, and we're gonna talk about them all, more specifically how all elements came together to create the greatest plot twist of all time. Which brings us to this movie. 30 years old and still listed above classics like The Godfather, The Dark Knight, and other plot twist related movies like Fight Club and Primal Fear. And that movie's title is...
So many people have come up to me on the street and said, I really like that Shawshank thing.
The Scrimshaw rejection.
Scrimshaw Reduction.
The Hudsucker Reduction.
The Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank has managed to take me in a span of seconds from this to this to this. And being an aspiring novelist, I was intrigued to know how they did it. So that's what we'll talk about today. How they did it, what it has in common with other great plot twists we know, and what makes it the most satisfying plot twist of all time. So, I love dramatic entrance, so here's one for how to manipulate the audience. For a movie to evoke any kind of emotion out of anyone, it first needs to make us fall in love or at least care about the main character, or in this case, Andy Dufresne. And the first time we meet Andy Dufresne is when he's being tried for double homicide, for shooting his wife and the guy she's been sleeping with, making love to. He maintains his innocence, but the evidence is too convincing.
We have the accused at the scene of the crime, we have footprints, tire tracks, we have bullets strewn on the ground which bear his finger.
And the judge sees him as
icy and remorseless man, Mr. Dufresne.
So he gets convicted and gets 2 brand new, state-of-the-art life sentences.
So be it.
So off Andy goes to prison. The food's bad and buggy.
Are you going to eat that?
The guards treat the inmates worse than animals, and the warden, who loves the Bible and has only one rule,
No blasphemy.
doesn't give 2 shits about that treatment. Even encourages it when one inmate bluntly asks on his first night,
When do we eat?
You eat when we say you eat.
Your ass belongs to me.
So I think it's safe to say that Andy is in good hands. As for Andy's relationship with the other prisoners, he doesn't make any friends, at least for the first couple of weeks. And he quickly attracts the attention of a rather lovely gang of called the Sisters, who want Andy to become their new best friend.
Hey, we all need friends in here. I could be a friend to you.
Which is truly as innocent as it sounds. With no protection from the guards and no real friends, beating them back was hard.
I wish I could tell you that Andy fought the good fight and the sisters let him be. I wish I could tell you that, but prison is no fairy tale world.
And for 2 whole years, this is Andy's life. And this is our main character. A normal guy with a normal job who found himself in an unnormal situation. Banker who suddenly found himself in hell on earth, aka the American prison system. So he's relatable. He always puts up a fight in any way he can.
Get this in your eyes, it blinds you. Anything you put in my mouth, you're gonna lose. In fact, I hear the bite reflex is so strong, you have to pry the victim's jaws open with a crowbar.
Where do you get this shit?
I read it.
So he's a bit admirable. And we as an audience are sympathetic and curious. Curious to find out if we're watching a guilty man being redeemed or an innocent man whose life has been wrongfully, unfairly f***ed. So he's admirable and relatable and we're sympathetic and curious, but there's no love here. And loving the main character is crucial for the twist to work. Which brings us to this scene.
The roof of the license plate factory needs resurfacing. I need a dozen volunteers for a week's work. As you know, special detail.
But before going into the scene, we need to introduce Red. Red is the closest Andy has for a friend. Their relationship is limited to some chit-chat here and there.
Why'd you do it?
I didn't, since you asked.
You gonna fit right in.
And Red smuggling stuff for Andy.
I understand you're a man that knows how to get things.
He smuggles him a hammer
It will take a man about 600 years to tunnel under the wall with one of these.
and a picture of Rita Hayworth.
Me?
The hammer is for shaping rocks, and the picture is just a picture. A big picture. A big picture that has nothing to do with our twist whatsoever. So back to our important scene. The point is their relationship is slowly growing, and so when Red bribes the guards to get the job of resurfacing the roof, he includes Andy. The guards are tearing the roof when they overhear this.
Please, you gonna see any of that?
35,000. That's what he left me.
The captain's brother died and left him some money, and he's bitching about how he's gonna lose a big portion of it, cause taxes.
Yeah, maybe enough to buy a new car, and then what? I gotta pay tax on the car.
That's when Andy does this.
Hey!
Do you trust your wife?
Oh, that's funny.
A gentle reminder, this is the same guy that killed a man for being scared on his first night in prison.
Open that cell.
I know the inner workings of a prison can seem a bit harsh, but make no mistake, these guys are being rehabilitated. I mean, it's common sense, get a criminal, treat him like an animal, and you'll of course get a... Oh. But I digress. Back to our scene.
You're gonna look funnier sucking my...
Do you think she'd go behind your back, try to hamstring you?
Dufresne throws a joke, and the captain responds characteristically.
This f***'s having himself an accident.
You don't push him off the roof. Because if you do trust her, there's no reason you can't keep that 35,000!
Probably wasn't up to that fact. Dufresne gets down to business. He gives the captain some financial advice on how to keep all of the money he inherited legally.
The IRS allows a one-time only gift to your spouse for up to $60,000.
Oh. Tax-free?
Tax-free.
Using his experience as a banker. And Andy offers to take care of the paperwork himself for almost free of charge. So here's his first opportunity to make his life in Shawshank a little bit easier. And here's how he uses it.
I only asked 3 beers apiece for each of my co-workers. Co-workers, get him.
And he doesn't even drink.
No thanks. Gave up drinking.
Scene over. At first glance, the scene might not look like much. But a closer look would tell us everything we need to know about Dufresne.
Tax-free?
Tax-free. IRS can't touch 1 cent.
He's competent in his job, maybe intelligent with the way he knew how to talk to the captain.
Actually, I feel stupid telling you this. I'm sure you would have investigated the matter yourself.
I don't need no smart wife-killing banker to tell me where the bear's shit in the buckwheat.
Of course not.
He's brave and not afraid to take risks. Determined and not easily
You
deterred.
trust your wife?
He's selfless,
Pick up while it's cold, ladies.
choosing to benefit his co-workers instead of himself, instead of getting some payback at the sisters, or asking for a better job within the prison, or anything valuable for a man in his position. And his gift did mean a great deal.
We sat and drank with the sun on our shoulders and felt like free men.
But something doesn't quite make sense. Why'd he do it like that?
Do you think she'd go behind your back, try to hamstring you?
You don't push him off the roof. Because if you do trust her, there's no reason you can't keep that 35...
Seems as if he intentionally put himself in harm's way, as he could have easily raised his hand politely, asked to approach or speak, then made his deal. Now, anyone who knows anything about character development, or storytelling in general, knows that you can't get away with creating a perfect character. There are no perfect people, and so a perfect character will be unrelatable. In other words, a character must have a flaw. This flaw can be simple, like Superman's kryptonite, or Sherlock Holmes being weird socially. But the kind of flaw they gave Andy is a bit different. His flaw is more similar to Ned's and Marta's. Marta can't lie.
Oh, shit! Dear girl, I'm sorry.
And she's maybe too kind-hearted. We might not consider that a flaw, but in Knives Out, in the movie, she needed to lie, as her freedom depended on it, and so her inability to do so became a flaw. Ned in Game of Thrones is honorable, straightforward, doesn't scheme, doesn't bloat, and is merciful. None of that is condemnable, but in King's Landing, those traits didn't do him much good. So what's Andy's? He refuses to act like a prisoner, at least like the prisoner the system wants him to act like. He behaves like a free man, and maybe believes that he's still a free man. Look at how the other inmates reacted when he walked towards the guard. Even when he merely looked at the guards when he was supposed to be walking.
Andy, you nuts. Keep your eyes on your mark, man. Andy.
There's a clear difference between how the other inmates behave and how Andy behaves. He believes that him being here in Shawshank shouldn't change who he is, and this part of his character is already noticed by some of his inmates like Red.
He had a quiet way about him, a walk and a talk that just wasn't normal around here. He strolled, like a man in a park without a care or a worry in the world.
That's why he approached the guards uninvited, and joked with and teased the captain like he was a colleague with him at work.
Do you trust your wife?
That's why he refers to his fellow inmates as co-workers.
For each of my co-workers.
Co-workers, get him. That's rich, ain't it?
I think a man.
This isn't just a man rebelling without a cause. Dufresne can control how he's treated, but he can control how he conducts himself. And while this is admirable, and might not be considered a flaw, again, inside the walls of Shawshank, it is. And it's dangerous, because the reality is, he is a prisoner, not a free man. And this kind of thinking can make him overestimate his power, or underestimate those who truly have the power. And like we just saw, this flaw has the potential of getting him into trouble, and later, it does. But more about that later. Our important scene starts a chain of events. The sisters attack Andy again, but now that Andy's financially useful, he's worthy of protection, and so the captain does this.
Boggs never walked again.
Shortly after, he's paid a visit by the warden himself.
I hear you're good with numbers. How nice.
A small chit-chat to size Andy up before giving him a job at the library. A visit, the reason behind which quickly becomes clear.
That's him. That's the one.
I'm Deacons. I was, thinking about maybe setting up some kind of trust fund for my kids' educations.
And then Andy says, Mr. Deacon, you want your sons to go to Harvard or Yale?
He didn't say that.
No, Andy needed was a suit and a tie and a little jiggly hula gal on his desk. He would have been Mr. Dufresne, if you please.
Again, his flaw noticed. So if living a close to a normal life on the inside was our hero's first goal, and Bugs was our first antagonist, then this goal is now achieved. Second goal,
How about expanding the library, get some new books in there?
which is expected of Andy, looking to benefit others in whatever way he could, is to make the library an actual library. But for that he needs money.
Budget stretched thin as it is.
I see. Perhaps I could write the state senate and request funds directly from them.
And so he writes letters and he has no response after no response after no response. Because the only way for prisons to receive funding is...
More walls, more bars, more guards.
Still, I'd like to try.
But he keeps writing them letters once a week until...
Goddamn mess, I'll tell you that.
Needs. We now consider the matter closed. Please stop sending us letters. It only took 6 years.
What? What did you just say?
6 years. Smuggling a tank into Shawshank couldn't have been this hard. Give the guy some books. And when they arrive, he celebrates by putting some Italian music. Not for him alone, but of course, for the whole prison.
Andy?
I have no idea to this day what those two Italian ladies were singing about. Truth is, I don't want to know. Some things are best left unsaid.
Turn that off!
and gets a week in the hole because of it.
Andy got 2 weeks in the hole for that little stunt.
Scene over, and one of its goals is to enforce what we know about our main character. Determination, waiting 6 years for a bunch of used books. Courage, risking a beating. Selflessness, could listen alone, but why, when you could listen with all you boys and get a week in the hole for it? And again, his gift did mean a great deal.
And for the briefest of moments, every last man at Shawshank felt free.
And of course, his flaw, his rebellious nature. First time, it almost got him in trouble. Now, it did, and got him a week in solitary.
Easiest time I ever did.
Oh, shit.
Which won't be the last, nor the most dangerous way this happens. So a second goal achieved. And now that we have our main character fully developed and his traits and flaws fully fleshed out, it's time for his final goal and for him to meet the final villain that will stand between him and achieving that goal.
Tommy Williams came to Shawshank in 1965 on a 2-year stretch for B&E.
Tommy is presented as rash, and maybe a bit stupid, uneducated,
Don't read so good.
but highly motivated to get better to support his wife and daughter back at home.
I was thinking maybe trying for my high school equivalency here, yeah.
Maybe it was the thought of them on the streets or his child growing up not knowing her daddy.
And so Andy takes him under his wing, cause of course Andy would do that.
Boy found brains he never knew he had.
They have some setbacks,
I didn't get a fucking thing right. Well, I'll tell you how the goddamn score comes out. Fuck this place! Fuck it! Kid passed. C+ average.
but nothing huge. And when Tommy finds out how his teacher got into prison, he tells a story.
What?
About 6 months left to go. Get a new cellmate in. Elmo Blatch.
So I pick out this guy, go in one night and do his place. He wakes up, gives me shit. So I killed him. Him and this tasty bitch he was with. And that's the best part. He married some other guy. Some hotshot banker. And he's the one they pinned it on.
Now, a question. Why didn't the movie tell us outright that he's innocent? It would have made us more sympathetic, and when it comes to the main character, sympathy is good. Well, yes, but the movie had sympathy. As soon as Dufresne stepped foot into Shawshank, his life was over. So we were already sympathetic towards him. And sympathy doesn't hold a candle to curiosity. Curiosity, playing on the urge of the audience to know, is always an effective way to get the audience interested. And of course, sympathy alone isn't enough for us to love a character. So they kept us interested with curiosity, and along the way, they fleshed out Andy's personality, his determination, his courage, his selflessness, and his flaw. And as soon as those traits were enforced and we liked Andy, his innocence was revealed. Another reason is, I think, the point of the movie. It didn't tell us that he's innocent because it doesn't matter if he's innocent. They built him up and they made us like him, love him, admire him, even though, to the audience, he still might be a killer. And I think that's one of the many points the movie makes. That people's humanity shouldn't be stripped away from them because of the mistakes they made. This is only one of the points the movie makes regarding this issue, and we'll talk about the rest more later in more detail once we've covered the necessary context. For now, back to our story. The reveal of his innocence achieved more than making us like him more. It gave him a clear goal. But now that he has one...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
You might have heard it being said a lot that a protagonist can only be as good as his antagonist. The stronger the antagonist, the stronger the hero should be to win. It is in overcoming the difficulties and struggles caused by the villain that the hero can truly earn our admiration and love when pursuing his goal, especially if that goal was appealing to us. Whether they win or not is regardless, and depends on what the writer wants to say with his film. And so it's time to introduce the real and final villain in the story, who I think is rightfully regarded as one of the most awesome villains in film.
I have to say, that's the most amazing story I ever heard. What amazes me most is you were taken in by it.
This righteous asshole.
It's all relative.